Hey everyone, Darren here once again for the next installment of the Tales of Retrospective, in which I'll be looking at one of the most critically acclaimed and successful entries of the Tales series, Tales of the Abyss for the PlayStation 2. Tales of the Abyss originally released in North America on October 10th, 2006, 8 months after Tales of Legenda failed to captivate American audiences. However, unlike the series' previous entry for the PlayStation 2, Tales of the Abyss released to financial and critical acclaim, putting the Tales series back on the radar of many North American gamers. Is Tales of the Abyss truly the best entry in the Tales series? Is it overrated, or is it even better than Symphonia? Well, let's get started. After Tales of Legenda failed to captivate North American gamers, Namco disbanded Project Melfez and gave the development chair back to their Tales studio. This proved to be an incredibly intelligent decision, as Tales of the Abyss further evolved and improved upon the formula Tales Symphonia established. Like most installments in the main Tales franchise, Tales of the Abyss takes place within a new world setting, a world the entire future predicted and recorded. This telling of upcoming events predicts the coming of a hero named Luke who would save the world. As you may have guessed, Luke is the game's primary protagonist. He is the son of a noble and the nephew of a king. He has had amnesia since a kidnapping that occurred during his childhood. Living excluded from society and in wealth, Luke has become a massive prick. He whines about anything involving effort on his part, and he feels that he's above everyone else. His initial attitude may turn off some, but given some time, Luke actually evolves as a character, as a person. This change progresses throughout most of the game, and by the end of the story, Luke is like an entirely different character. This character development is a key point in the story and has a huge payoff. Well worth the wait. At first, Tales of the Abyss might seem like it's relying on pre-established JRPG cliches, with its predestined amnesia-stricken hero, angsty teens, and predictably evil baddies, along with a familiar setup. But, after investing around 10 or so hours, the plot suddenly changes gears and begins to unfold as a well-told, original tale. The end result is one of the most engaging and exciting stories seen in a Tales game, or any JRPG for that matter. And as per usual, it's the characters that make the plot all the more memorable and enjoyable. The other characters aside from Luke fill out the regular assortment of the Tales cast. You have the love interest, the lolly, the bro, the older sarcastic member, and other stand-ins. But luckily, these characters are extremely likable and enjoyable to watch interact with one another. Tales of the Abyss might have one of the best casts seen in any JRPG, let alone a Tales game. So Tales of the Abyss has a great plot, possibly one of the best seen in a Tales game, and an outstanding cast of characters. But does the rest of the game hold to this high standard? The answer is obviously yes. Tales Symphonia's combat system returns, refined, and evolved. Combat is still similar to past titles, 4 party members linking basic attacks with special techniques and having multiplayer return, but the key difference is that players now have full control of 3-dimensional movement, giving more control and precision to players than any previous Tales title. With all these improvements, there is however one issue. While walking around the overworld, the game's frame rate begins to drop, and this issue is reoccurring, making what normally be a nuisance into a full-blown problem. Otherwise, aside from being able to move in 3D during combat, the vast majority of gameplay is familiar, which is good as the Tales formula has yet to be proven stale. Well, aside from a certain few entries. But the graphics this game sports are definitely an improvement from both Legenda and Symphonia, with more proportioned character models and detailed character expressions. Overall, Tales of the Abyss features a pretty world and some great sights to behold. Even all these years later, the game still does hold up well graphically. The game's voice acting is almost as impressive as the graphics, with a few notable performances from Luke and Jade's characters in particular, but overall the acting is extremely well done. Musically, the game is only alright, with compositions from now returning veteran composers of the series, Motoi Sakuraba and Shinji Tatsuma, with a little help from Motoi Fujiwara. Most of the songs used in the game quickly become white noise and very forgettable, with the exception of the game's main theme, Karma. So, although the voice acting is very well done, the music is simply only okay. Definitely a step down from Tales of Legenda's incredible soundtrack. Another step backwards from Legenda is the lack of voices during skits, especially since there is such an abundance of them and many of them are really worth viewing, but ultimately, they're boring to watch when they're just simply mouth flaps. Ultimately, Tales of the Abyss is an incredible game and one of the best experiences that a Tales game has provided. Most of this success can be attributed to the excellent story and well fleshed out characters. My only real gripe with the game is the strange pacing that occurs around the 20-hour mark, where you're constantly forced to go from location to location just randomly across the world map. but aside from this issue, the rest of the gameplay has held up excellent. The combat system is also worth noting, with all its improvements and expanding upon the original formula Tales Symphonia refined when it released. The game was originally an exclusive for the PlayStation 2, but in February of 2012, Tales of the Abyss was ported to the 3DS. This port solves the aforementioned lag problem, but drops the multiplayer. Both copies will run you around either 40 or 50 bucks online, unless you're lucky enough to find a physical copy, which should be much cheaper. I personally feel that Tales of the Abyss is one of the finest experiences of the Tales series, but I ultimately feel the game's strange pacing and lag deter from what would otherwise be a perfect Tales experience, making Tales of the Abyss one of the best games of the series, but ultimately not my favorite. Well, that's all I have to say about Tales of the Abyss. Stick around for next time in the Tales of Retrospective, in which I'll be looking at one of the portable entries of the Tales series and an interesting spin-off. Till next time.